Today, inshallah, we will go for the most important topic in our curriculum, and a lot of questions are from this chapter, which is the human systems. So let's get started. Question number one, which of the following is not a part of the axial skeleton in a human? A, ribs, B, pelvis, C, vertebral column, D, skull. Answer is B, pelvis. If we are extending our explanation, we will say that we have axial and we have appendicular skeletal system. First of all, the axial skeleton made up of skull, and we have a vertebral column and the rib cage and what is known as the sternum or the breastbone. It's known as sternum, or in some textbooks it's been written as, okay, the breastbone. So this is the axial skeleton. It's made up of four major parts: skull, vertebral column, rib cage, and the sternum or the breastbone. Here we have the appendicular skeletal system or appendicular skeleton. It's made up of the, we can say here, the upper limb or the bones of upper limb and bones of lower limb. And the bones of upper limb, it has the girdle. Okay, this is known as the shoulder girdle. So the bones of the upper limb and the shoulder girdle, or its shoulder girdle. And we have the bones of the lower limb and the pelvic girdle. Okay, 3, 4. So they have 4, and here also 4. The axial we mentioned: skull, vertebral column, rib cage, and sternum bone. And the appendicular skeletal system is made up of the upper limb bones and the shoulder girdle, the bones of the lower limb, and the pelvic girdle. So let's carry on. Question number 2. Which of the following is a part of the axial skeleton in a human? A, shoulder bone, B, clavicle, C, sternum, hip bone. The answer is the sternum or the breastbone, as we did mention. This is exactly the breastbone or the sternum bone. Perfect. Question number 3. When a medical report indicates irregular fractures, the bone are expected to be A, skull, B, wrist, C, leg, D, vertebra. The correct answer is D, vertebra. Perfect. If you are looking here, we have a lot of epiphyses. So, yeah, those processes are very easily to have irregular fracture if there is any injury or accident. Question number 4. Someone with osteoporosis lacks A, sodium, B, vitamin A, C, calcium, D, vitamin B. Of course, osteoporosis lacks calcium. Yeah. If you are looking here for the two figures, here is the normal bone with the normal calcification, and the density of the bone is normal, and the deposition of calcium is regular. And here we have a bone with osteoporosis, which is lack to the deposition of the calcium, and the bone are fragile, they are brittle, they are easily to be broken. So this is the case that is known as osteoporosis. Question number 5. What cells get rid of weak and damaged osteocytes? A, osteoclast, B, osteocystic osteolysis, C, osteoblast, D, osteoprogenitors. It is osteoclast. Exactly. The answer is A, osteoclast. Osteoclast is the bone breaking. It's called bone breaking. That makes it easy for you to recall it. We have osteoclast and osteoblast. Okay, osteoblast are bone making. Osteoblast, bone making cells. Those that are depositing the calcium in order to build new, okay, bone. And this is the shape of the osteoclast, or the bone reabsorbing cells, or the bone breaking cells. Okay. Question number 6. A solid connective tissue that connects muscles and bones. Always muscle with bone. A. Ligaments. B. Tendons. C. Cartilage. D. Joints. The connective tissue that connects muscle and bone, it is the tendon. The correct answer is B. And here it's good to say, yeah, this is the tendon. Here is the muscle, and here is the bone. The connection between the muscle and the bone is known as tendon. If we assume that there is another muscle, another bone like this, just assumption. So this is another bone. So those bones are being connected together by a fibrous, okay, or a strong fibrous tissue known as ligament. So we can say bone connect, okay, to bone, okay, bone connect to bone by ligament, okay, muscle, here we can say muscle, okay, muscle connect to bone by tendon. We can say bone meets, just meet, bone, the joint at, or the point at which they are, okay, join or meet is known as joint. And we have a huge number of, okay, joints. We have most of them in our curriculum. We will go to them in a lot of other questions that will be followed. Question number 7. The hip and shoulder joints are A. Pivot joints, B. Hinge joints, C. Gliding joints, D. Ball and socket joint. Hip and shoulder, they are ball and socket. They are ball and socket. Why? If you are looking here, this is the pelvis bone. Okay. And is the head of the femur bone, which making the, okay, this is part of the lower limb, bones of the lower limb. Okay, and here there is it's called acceptulum, or it is a place at which, depression at which the head of the femur will be rest in. Okay, this is a diagram for it. It is an exact picture. So it is a head, such like a bowl, and here is the place at which it will be fitting, it will be resting. Okay, a depression, we can say. This is the ball and socket joint, one of the most widely, okay, moving joints in our body. Its movement is extremely wide. So if we return back to the explanation, so if we extend our explanation, this is the ball and socket, and we just mention it. So in a ball and socket joint, the ball-like surface here, this is the head of the bone in this case. This is the femur bone, and we have also the humerus in the upper limb. Okay, so it will be fit into a cup-like. Here inside there is a depression which is act like a cup-like, or we can say a socket, okay, in which the bone will be resting in, will be fitting in. They pivot. This is in the pelvic girdle and in the shoulder girdle as well. The pivot, this is the primary movement at a pivot joint, is rotation, which is widely found in our body as well. One of the most example is the elbow joint. And the most, we can say, tricky thing for many students, there is a pivot joint and there is a hinge joint, okay, in the same place, but different bones, okay? Because, for example, one second, here is a hinge. This is a hinge. Here, this is the hinge. and here there is pivoting. Okay, such like the neck, for example. This is much easier as well. Your neck is a very famous and easily noticed example of a pivot. Okay, here it's a hinge. Why? Try now to open the door, okay, till 360 degree. It will not. It can only open till a limit. So try even now to stretch your, okay, hand more than this degree. You will not be able to. Okay, try to rotate it a little bit back. It will not never be working. Why? Because there is a convex surface that is being fitting in a concave surface, and there is a maximum limit, okay, above which they will not be able to be stretching or moving, okay, much more. This is the hinge, okay, it's called hinge joint. The gliding, and in some textbook it's been known as saddle joints, okay, such like those bones that are, okay, gliding or saddling, okay, they're allowing side to side movement and even back to forth, okay. The joints here in your wrist and even in your ankle are being sliding, are being saddling, are being gliding, okay, joints, okay. So this is the fourth example. The last one in our curriculum, there are more than this, by the way. It's known as sutures. Suture is the only immovable, totally immovable. So how come it is a joint and it is not moving? We did agree before that when a bone meets a bone, this is known as joint. But in the skull, those joints are not movable, are immovable. Okay, so they are making what is known as sutures. Okay, so this is the last type that we have, the suture joint, or the only immovable joint that we have in our body. Question number 8, what type of joint is the elbow joint? I just mentioned this. A, pivot. B, hinge. C, gliding. B, ball and socket joint. It is hinge, yes. Because you will not be able never to straighten it more than this side. Yes, yeah, due to the structure of it. Question number 9. The picture below shows which type of joints? A, hip. B, tubular. C, elbow. D, skull. It is the elbow joint, yes, and here is the elbow joint. Perfect. Okay. Question number 10. An infection that affects the joints and lose their strength is A, osteoarthritis, B, rheumatoid arthritis, C, okay, bursitis, D, the sprains. It is, the correct answer is B, rheumatoid arthritis. This is exactly the correct answer. The rheumatoid arthritis, we can classify it as it is overreaction of the immune system, or we can say it is oversensitivity. Okay, so in the rheumatoid arthritis occurs when the cells of the immune system attacking the tissues that are surrounding the joints and causing the tissue to become inflamed. So it is an autoimmune, if you can say it is overreaction from the immune system attacking its own body, which should not. Question number 11. Red and white blood cells and platelets are formed in A, yellow bone marrow, B, bone cells, C, red bone marrow, D, marrow cavity. Of course, the correct answer is C, red bone marrow. Yeah, if I look in here we have the red bone marrow, and here is the yellow bone marrow that is mainly for the storing, okay, fat, okay, and also there may be calcium there. So the red bone marrow, it's the place at which there will be a specific stem cell type that is being responsible for, yeah, this is the blood stem cells that will be differentiate in order to give all of the rest of the three main types of the blood cells, that are the RBCs or the red blood cells, and white BCs or the white blood cells, and also the platelets. Even platelets is, okay, or the platelets are cell fragments. They are not They are not real cells, they are fragments of cells. And keep this point because there will be some questions on this part. Question number 12. Which of the following is responsible for the formation of red blood cells? A, the muscular system, B, lymphatic system, C, the skeletal system, D, the nervous system. The correct answer is C, the skeletal system. As we just mentioned, the skeletal system do contain the red bone marrow, and the red bone marrow do contain the blood stem cells that will be differentiated in order to give all of the components of the blood cells. Question number 13. When testing a person's blood and it shows high levels of calcium in his or her body, where is the extra calcium stored? A, liver tissues, B, bone tissues, C, muscle tissues, D, cartilage tissue. Exactly, the extra calcium will be stored in the bone tissue, as we just mentioned. Yeah, and here there is we can extend our explanation in order to make a connection between the skeletal system and the hormonal system and even the homeostasis. I can extend this by telling you that, for example, if this is the normal blood level that should have the calcium or the calcium blood level from 9 to 11 milligram per 100 ml of the blood. If there is a raising in the blood level or the calcium blood level, so it will stimulate the thyroid gland to secrete the hormone that is known as calcitonin. The calcitonin will stimulate the bone cells or the osteoblast in order to absorb, in order to deposit more calcium in the blood. When this has been occurred, the blood calcium level will be dropped and will be returned back to normal, and that's why it will be maintained. On the other case, if the calcium or the blood calcium level is being dropped, this will, of course, it's imbalancing, and it will stimulate the response from the thyroid gland. Of course, firstly, it is to the brain, then it will be sent to the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus will secrete a hormonal signal to the pituitary, then pituitary will control the parathyroid in order to secrete the PTH or the parathyroid hormone in order to stimulate the osteoclast or the bone breaking cells in order to break down some of the calcium in order to be released in the blood to raise back the calcium normal to its normal level in the blood. And this is a negative feedback mechanism as well. And there are a question on the TAHSILI on this part. Question number 14. To watch the protein filaments, myosin and actin may make slit in muscle tissue taken from A, bladder, B, uterus, C, stomach, D, arm. This is a straight answer. Yes, it's mostly taken from the arm. It is a striated cell. It's very easy to watch it out there. Okay, and here is the parts that are making the fiber. This is actually the muscle fiber. Okay, one muscle fiber. That if you are looking inside, you're gonna find a lot of myofibril. Myo means muscle, by the way. Fibrils are small fibers, and if you are even going farther, you're gonna find that the basic unit that is making the myofibril, or what is known as the sarcomere. And inside the sarcomere, you're gonna find here there is the Z line, and here is the M line. On the Z line here, okay, here is the different sort of the proteins. We have actually the myosin, which are thick. You're gonna find them here closer to the M line. This is the myosin, and gliding on it, the actin, or this is the actin, which is thin protein filamentous, okay, or filaments, okay, filamentous structure, okay. So this is the structure of the basic unit that make in the muscular system. Actually, we have only 3 questions that make in the muscular in this exam. Question number 15. What is the type of the muscles that line the stomach in humans? A, smooth, B, skeletal, C, cardiac, D, voluntary. Of course, the muscles that are lining the gastrointestinal tract, they are smooth muscles. And here we can take it in order to differentiate between the three different types that we have. Okay, we have actually smooth, that is lining the internal organs, such like the gastrointestinal tract, such like the blood vessels, such like arteries and veins, urinary bladder, uterus, and we have the cardiac, which is only and dedicated for the heart, and we have the skeletal muscles. Skeletal from its name, all of the muscles that are being connected to the skeletal system, they are known as skeletal muscles. Regarding the action, they smooth are involuntary. We cannot control it. Skeletal are voluntary muscles. The cardiac is involuntary. Okay. Yes, here are the difference between the three of them. The cardiac muscle is only dedicated for one organ in our body, which is the heart. They are never get tired muscles. And here we have the skeletal muscle tissues that is making all of the muscles that are being connected to the skeletal system. Those that are lining the internal organ, as I just mentioned, they are the smooth. Smooth are involuntary. The skeletal are voluntary. You can control them. Okay, involuntary, the cardiac is involuntary. You cannot control the cardiac muscle. I think this is the last question that came, yes, in the muscular system. If we go for the nervous tissue or the nervous system, question number 16, the existence of the myelin layer in the neuron. A, increase the speed of the impulse. D, decrease the speed of the impulse. C, increase the sense of pain. D, decrease sharp pain. The correct answer is A, increase the speed of the transmission of the nerve impulse. If we would like to increase the, or to extend the explanation here, here is the axon, here is the axon of the neuron, and some of the axon are myelinated. What is the meaning of it? They are being covered by cells that are known as Schwann cells. Those cells secreted a substance, fatty substance, known as myelin. This myelin sheaths play a lot of roles. Number one, they are protecting. Number two, they are insulating. Number three, they are speed up the transmission of the nerve impulse 5 times faster. 5 times faster. So the speed of the transmission of the nerve impulse in the myelinated axon, it's 5 times faster the speed of the nerve impulse transmission in the non-myelinated axons. Question number 17. The minimum stimulus to cause an action to be produced is A, reflex arc, B, effort potential, C, threshold, D, the synapse. This is actually the exact definition of the threshold. Yes. The extension of the explanation here, it's not in your curriculum, this is not from the SAAT, but just to let you know, not in details as being requested. So here there is a threshold, which is the minimum level, okay, above which the body can detect the nerve stimuli, and below which the body will not be able to detect the change or the stimuli. So if the stimuli is less than the threshold, it will not be detected. If it's more than it, now the body or the nerve cells can detecting them and convert them into a nerve impulse and continue its convey or the transmission. Question number 18. Memory loss occurs when there is a dysfunction in A, cerebrum, B, cerebellum, C, spinal cord, D, medulla oblongata. The correct answer is A, cerebrum. If we're looking here, there are actually three main regions that we have in our curriculum. We have all of this region is the cerebrum, okay? And here is the cerebellum. This is the cerebellum, the second. We can say this is the first, this is the second, and this part is known as, yes, this is the midbrain, if we can say, the bones and medulla oblongata. That is being connecting the brain into the spinal cord. Spinal cord, it's a different thing. So the brain is made up of mainly of, those are the third part. Okay, so the cerebrum is made up of two hemispheres. Two. Hemi means you can say semi or half. Okay, sphere. Okay, and in the curriculum we do not have the frontal lobe, the parietal, the occipital. Okay, we do not have this. You will not be questioned to this. Okay, frontal, temporal, parietal, occipital, but all of the functions for the cerebrum, we have it in our curriculum. Okay, and there is another graph that will be extending the explanation though. This is the structure. I just pulled this for knowing the structure. We have cerebrum made up of two hemispheres. We have cerebellum, and we have the midbrain of the bones and medulla oblongata. The functions will be in the second slide. Yeah. So again and again, he will not ask you in our SAAT exam. In other exams he will, okay, but not this exam. So here, all of those functions are under the cerebrum. And all of those functions are under the cerebellum, the second part. And the brainstem, as I mentioned, this is the third part, all with which is come in our exam as, or named, or labeled as medulla oblongata. So you have to know that the cerebrum controlling the problem solving, emotional traits, reasoning, voluntary motor activity, okay, understanding language, but he will not ask you what are the functions of the frontal lobe. Okay, although in our curriculum there is what is known as frontal lobe, but it's never came in the exam. But cerebrum, okay, generally, you have to know that cerebrum has all of those functions, rather than knowing that under the frontal lobe there is such and such, temporal lobe there are such and such, the parietal lobe there are such and such, and even the occipital. Okay, that's have to be clear. Cerebrum, yeah, many questions, about 3 questions came on this day. Cerebrum, it's very important for the balance, for the coordination and control of voluntary movement, the fine movement, okay, of the muscles as well. Here, the brainstem of the medulla oblongata, they involuntary actions, such like breathing, such like the heartbeat, such like the body temperature, the regulation of the digestion, such like the alterness of the sleep, such like the swallowing. All of those are by the medulla oblongata, one of the most important sensitive region in the brain. Question number 19. The part responsible for balance is A, cerebrum, B, cerebellum, C, bones, D, medulla oblongata. The correct answer is B, cerebellum. Exactly. Question number 20. Which organ is used when typing on a keyboard? A, cerebrum, B, cerebellum, C, bones, D, medulla oblongata. The correct answer is B, the cerebellum. As I just mentioned, yes, controlling the fine muscle movement. And this action needs the fine muscle control, which has been under the cerebellum. Question number 21. A person got in a car accident and suffered from irregular heartbeat. The doctors were sure this was because of the infection of A, cerebrum, B, medulla oblongata, C, bones, D, spinal cord. Exactly, this is the answer. The answer is B, medulla oblongata, because as you know, the function of it is, here he asked, yeah, the heartbeat, and it's been regulating by the medulla oblongata, this part. Question number 22. Which part is responsible for water balance? A, cerebrum, B, cerebellum, C, pons, D, hypothalamus. Water balance is being done by the hypothalamus. Yeah. Hypothalamus, this is actually not in our curriculum at all. This is extremely advanced, okay? But what I need you to know that the hypothalamus, it is receiving the nerve impulses and releasing hormones. So it is a connection, okay? It is a connection between the nervous system and the hormonal or the endocrine. So this connection is the hypothalamus. It receives the nerve impulse from the central nervous system, and then they are producing or releasing or secreting hormones that will be given or will be, forwarding or transmitting to the pituitary gland in order to order it to secrete the proper sort of hormones. Of course, we know that pituitary gland in the maestro, because it is controlling all of the rest of the glands that will secrete hormones that are controlling all of the rest of the body. So the nerve impulse comes to the hypothalamus, releases hormones to the pituitary, that in return releases the hormone to the glands that will secrete hormone that will circulate all over the body till reaching the target organ that are controlling and altering the way the body works. So this is the brief illustration here. Question number 23. Which of the following works in times of stress and emergencies? A, central nervous system. B, somatic nervous system. C, sympathetic nervous system. B, parasympathetic nervous system. The correct answer is C, the sympathetic nervous system. If we extend the explanation and we make a comparison between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, sympathetic during stress, during fear, during excitation, okay, the parasympathetic mostly right after the sympathetic in order to calm down the body, which is, and also during the rest, okay, during relaxation. So if you are fear of something, if you are so excited, so happy, so sad, if you are under stress, under pressure, okay, so the sympathetic action will be work. Actually, the sympathetic nervous system, it is a sort of the involuntary, both of them actually, involuntary. The involuntary is under what is known as the PNS or peripheral nervous system. So we have peripheral nervous system that has involuntary. The involuntary has the sympathetic, okay, and the parasympathetic. All of them are involuntary. The peripheral nervous system is number 2 because there's number 1, which is the, it's called the somatic, okay, which is controlled. And here the involuntary, it is known as autonomic peripheral nervous system that has sympathetic and parasympathetic. In the sympathetic, number 1, the pupil of the eye will be dilated in order to allow more light to get into, okay, the retina to see properly and precisely. And the heartbeat will be increased in order to push more blood to the muscles in order to provide them with nutrients and air and oxygen in order to undergo the aerobic respiration and release more energy for activity during the stress. And the airways as well will be widened or dilate in order to have proper gas exchange process as well. The sweat gland will be stimulate the secretion and will be increased. The liver will increase the rate of glycogen conversion into glucose. Why? To increase the glucose level or the blood glucose level. Why? Because this glucose will be transported to the muscle cells to do the aerobic respiration and releases energy that needed for the activity. Unlike here, the digestive system will be decreased activity because we need more activity in the muscles, not in the digestive system. Adrenal will secrete the adrenaline that play a role in the previously mentioned stuff. Uterus will be vaginal constriction. We don't need more blood there, and even the urinary bladder will be relaxing the bladder to receive more urine, and also we don't need this during the action of the sympathetic. On the other hand, we have the parasympathetic. After the stress of the body need to calm down, so the pupil of the eye will be constrict, to receive less light. Heartbeat will be slowed down. Airways constricted. Yes, when we are sleeping or when we are at rest, we are under the parasympathetic peripheral or parasympathetic autonomic peripheral nervous system. The blood vessels will be constricted, less blood to the muscles. Liver will stimulate the bile secretion, and instead of converting the glycogen into glucose, the opposite may be occurred. The digestive system will be stimulated actively, because we are at rest. Uterus will be relaxed. Urinary bladder also increasing the urinary output. So it is totally opposite to the sympathetic nervous system. Question number 24. Which of the following represents a person's state which the sympathetic nervous system start working? A. Increase in saliva. B. Narrowing in the iris. C. Increase in digestion rate. D. Increase in the heartbeat. The correct answer is D. Increase in the heartbeat. As we just mentioned, this is the comparison between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, because this action is under the sympathetic autonomic peripheral nervous system. Question number 25. System that works in the human's body at rest. With the human body at rest. A. Voluntary nervous. B. Somatic. C. Sympathetic. D. Parasympathetic. The correct answer is D. Parasympathetic nervous system. And here is the explanation, the same thing. The comparison between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Question number 26. The drugs affect the neurotransmitter in the nervous system by A. Increasing its amount. B. Decreasing its amount. C. Increase its binding to receptors. A. Allowing it to leave the synapse. Let's agree in the beginning that this question is not phrased properly. You are right. Mariam, you are right. Because drugs actually, it is being even branched into stimulant that are increasing the speed of the nerve impulse transmission, and the sedative or the depressant. It's called depressant. Yes, depressant decrease the transmission of the nerve impulse, but so many ways according to the exact type of the depressant that you are talking about. So this question is not actually well phrased, but here he is meaning those that are increasing the rate of the nerve impulse. So the answer here is A, increasing the amount, but to be honest, it is a little bit vague and not well phrased question, because we have actually the drugs generally, we have the depressant, we have actually medicinal drugs. First of all, medicinal that is being used under the medical prescription, and we have non-medicinal, or what we are named as the word drug. This is the common name. This is medicinal drug as well, but mostly we are meaning this. And the last one is the it's called performance enhancers. It's been banned in some of the championships. It's not our point. The drugs here are being even categorized into stimulants that are increasing the increasing the rate of the transmission of the nerve impulse by many ways. Actually it is not in our SAAT, but if you like we can later talk about them, but not in our revision. The sedatives or the depressant that are decreasing the rate of the nerve impulse or the transmission of the nerve impulse to the brain. So I just need you to know those words: stimulants, and depressant, even sedative. It's not in our curriculum. So question number 27. Drugs that increase the alertness and physical activity is A. Stimulants, B. Depressant, C. Inhalants, D. Inhibitors. Of course, the correct answer is A. Stimulants. Okay. This is the difference between the stimulant and the depressant. The stimulant, yeah, creates a fake messages into the brain by increasing the or cascading the nerve impulse. Okay, the blood in the skin or the blood to the skin will be increased because increasing the heartbeat, increasing the breathing rate, increasing the blood pressure. Okay, and even yes, of course, the result, the body or the real stress will be occurred, and the body will not be able to respond if it's been extreme cases. Depression totally opposite. They are lowering the messages that is being transmitted to the brain. Question number 28. What slows down the brain activity? A. Nicotine, B. Caffeine, C. Adrenaline, D. Alcohol. That's correct. The correct answer is D. Alcohol. All of those are stimulants. The alcohol is the only depressant here. Question number 29. The psychological and physiological dependence on drug is called A. Tolerance, B. Rescission, C. Habitation, D. Addiction. This is the exact definition of the word. Yes, addiction. To be physically and psychologically dependent on a drug. Question number 30. Which of the following accepts the returning blood from the body? Returning blood from the body. A. Right atrium, B. Left atrium, C. Right ventricle, D. Left ventricle. The correct answer is B. Left atrium. If you are looking here, we have atria and we have ventricles. The atria receiving blood, we have right and left, both of them receiving. And we have the left ventricle, right ventricle and the left ventricle, they are pumping, they are pushing the blood away from the heart. That's why. Right atrium. Yeah, why right atrium? Here it's mentioned, accept the returning blood from where? From the body. That's a very good point. And here is mainly referring to the pulmonary. Okay, I'll not even go for the circulation now, but even much simpler. We have here the right atrium, receiving the blood from the vena cava. Vena cava has a superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Superior vena cava accepting the blood that is being returning back from the upper body parts. And the inferior vena cava is accepting the blood that is being returning back from the lower body part. Of course, what is being returning back from the lower body part, it is deoxygenated blood or oxygen poor blood. That's why it is correct in this context. Okay, in this context, it is correct. If you say returning blood from the lung, it will be the left atrium via the pulmonary veins. But this is not being mentioned in the question stem. Returning from the body through the superior and inferior vena cava into the right atrium. Next question. Did you agree with this, Ahmad Al-Ghamdi? Did you got it? Dear? Okay. Question number 31. Which heart chamber pumps blood to the body? A. Right atrium, B. Left atrium, C. Right ventricle, D. Left ventricle. Pumps the blood to the body. The correct answer is D. Left ventricle. As we just mentioned, here is the left ventricle. When it's being contracted, it will pumping the oxygen-rich blood or the oxygenated blood through the aorta to all of the body. And here is the aorta. Question number 32. The blood from the heart bumps to. The blood from the heart bumps to. Look for the options. If you are not 100% know the answer, look for the options and try to exclude the odd or the strange or the not fitting or the not matching answers. A. Pulmonary vein. B. Superior vena cava. C. Aorta. D. Inferior vena cava. Of course, the blood from the heart pumps to, yeah, aorta. The word to, if it's been replaced by the word throw, it will be much more convenient. Yes, because here the pulmonary vein, okay, it's been taking the blood from the lung to the heart, so it is not pumped from the heart actually. Superior vena cava, it's a vein that has been draining the deoxygenated blood from the body back into the heart. Inferior vena cava do the same thing, but from the lower body parts. So the only here accepted and 100% correct answer is the aorta. So I did exclude this B as well and D, and I'm confirming even my answer. So even if you are knowing the answer and you want to double check or to emphasize, to confirm, do the same strategy. Question number 33. The sinoatrial node, the pacemaker in the human, is located in A, right atrium. This is the SA node. B, left atrium. C, right ventricle. D, left ventricle. The SA node is found in the right atrium, here in this place exactly. Here is the sinoatrial node that receiving the nerve impulse and send it to the walls of the atria in order to allow them to start contraction. And of course, send the messages to the AV node. AV node didn't come an example, is very important to know it, because in return, when the AV node receives the nerve impulse from the SA, it will be transmitted through the Purkinje fiber that are embedded in the walls of the ventricles in order to stimulate the ventricles to contract in return. Question number 34. Blood vessels that carries oxygenated blood to the parts of the body away from the heart. Away from the heart. Veins, arteries, capillaries, valves. Away is through the arteries. Perfect. This is the exact definition of artery. Question number 35. A child has iron deficiency in his blood. In what way does this affect him? A, muscle contraction. B, oxygen transportation. C, transmission of nerve impulse. D, production of digestive systems. Actually, the correct answer is B, oxygen transportation. If you are extending the answer, here is the subunits that are making the hemoglobin molecule. And every single subunit, it has a iron or heme, okay, molecule, which is covalently bonded to the oxygen, and that's why it is being carrying it. And this is the hemoglobin that is being found on the surface of the RBCs, or the red blood cells. That's very briefly. Question number 36. One of the blood components contains hemoglobin and doesn't have a nucleus. Doesn't have a nucleus. Plasma, B, red blood cells, C, white blood cells, D, platelets. The correct answer is B, red blood cells. They are anucleated. They have no nucleus. In order to speed, or to increase the surface area for carrying more oxygen. Question number 37. Flat fragments. Stress under this word, flat fragments. Okay. In cells that has an important role in the blood clotting. A, plasma. D, RBCs. C, white BCs. D, platelets. Of course, platelets play very important role in the process of clotting, and it is a cell fragment. Okay. Question number 38. Which arrow in the figure shown represents a wrong blood transfusion? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 1, this is 2, 3, 4. Yes, this is actually wrong blood transfusion. AB is general acceptor. It's not given anyone except its own. And O is the general donor. It's not accepting, okay, from anyone except its own. So this is the correct answer. Even if you are going further and extending the explanation, we're gonna find that here, okay. O okay, can donate to all of the blood groups, while AB, okay, can receive from all of the blood groups, but donate only its own. So here is very important table to watch it out. Even if you want to know why and to extend it, because it's in another question. Here is the RBCs, and this is the surface of it. On the surface of the RBCs in the blood type A, there are antigen A, and in the plasma membrane, there should not be antibody A, okay? Because if there is antibody A in the plasma of the person, the antigen A will be, yes, will be combined with the antibody A and will clotting. That's why in the normal blood, or the person that has a blood type A, in the plasma, it has anti-B, okay? Or the protein marker anti-B. So there is no problem at all for that person. The blood group B, in the surface of the RBC, there is antigen markers B. And in the plasma, there is anti-A. So there is no problem and there is no clotting will be occurred. In the AB, both of them are being represented on the surface of the RBCs. Okay, there is anti-A and anti-B. And in the plasma, there should not be any, because if there is anti-A, will make blood clotting. If there is anti-B, will make a blood clotting. So the question, the blood group that has no antibody, it is AB blood group. It came in exam and it's hard for some students to understand it. Blood group O, there is no antibody on the surface, there's no antigens, okay, on the surface of the RBCs, and on the plasma there is anti-A and anti-B. That's why it can give any blood group and only receive from its own. This is the advanced explanation. Question number 39. A person had an accident and his blood type wasn't known. Paramedics should transport to the person which type of blood? A, B, AB, O. Without having any doubt, yes, it will be D, which is O. Why? Because as you can see here, O has no antigen, so will not cause any problem with any blood groups. This is the general donor without even going deeply. Question number 40. Which of the following doesn't have an antibody? A, B, O, AB. Doesn't have any antibody is, yeah, the correct answer is D. The AB blood group has no antibody. Question number 41. The main pathway for water loss in human body during normal condition is A, urine, B, veins, C, breathing, D, feces. It is A, urine. Yes. Question number 42. What is the filtering unit, the functional unit of the human? Sorry. Okay. Okay, carry on. What is the filtering unit or the functional unit of the human kidney? A, nephridia, B, ureter, nephron, bladder. Of course, the correct answer is C, nephron. Nephron is the functional unit, and this is the structure of it.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead. Nephridia, as I told you, it is found in the invertebrates. Okay, and the such like the segmented worms, the earthworm, the annelid. Okay. Question number 43. Which process returns sugars to blood? Which process returns the sugar to blood? A, excretion, B, reabsorption, C, filtration, D, digestion. Exactly, the correct answer is B, reabsorption. And in order to be much more precise, it is the selective reabsorption. Because as you know here, this is the Bowman's capsule in which the process of absorption will be the process of filtration will be occurred, and right after they all of the components will be selectively reabsorbed according to the need of the body. Question number 44. primary digestion of carbohydrates is done by enzyme. Of course, it is done by the amylase in the mouth. Perfect. Question number 45. Which of the following substances can continue digestion in the esophagus? I'm sorry. Okay. Of course, the carbohydrates. Why? Because in the esophagus, there is no secretions, and the continuation of the amylase in the, or the salivary amylase that was being secreted in the mouth will be continued. Okay. Question number, yeah, this is the same illustration. 46. Proteins are digested in the stomach by which enzyme? Yes, by pepsin. Exactly. The pepsin is the enzyme. Question number 47. If a person consumed large amounts of magnesium, which is magnesium milk or MgOH2, OH, it is expected that this led to, yeah, stopping the pepsin, because as you know, they inside the stomach there is acid, which is HCl, which is a very strong acid, and there is MgH2 that is being mentioned, which is a strong base. Acid plus base, the neutralization equation gives you a magnesium chloride, which is a salt plus water in a neutralization equation, and the pH will not be suitable, will be around 7, which will not be suitable for the pepsin to work. Question number 48. Why is insulin given by injection and not by mouth? A. Pepsin might ingest in the stomach. B. Its absorption increase in the stomach. C. Its amount is too little to reach the bloodstream. It will affect the function of lymphatic glands. Of course, the correct answer is A, because it might be ingested in the stomach, because the insulin is a amino acid based hormone, and it's made up of amino acid, which makes a protein, and in the stomach there is pepsin that will digest the protein, so it will not cause a benefit. That's why it's taken via injection. Yes, not via the stomach or by mouth. In what range does the pepsin enzyme work? Pepsin work in acidic environment. Perfect. Yes. No, it is not. Yeah. Question number 50. In what range? Yeah, we're done with that. Which of the following, if removed, stop the process of absorption of nutrient in the body? Actually, yeah, small intestine. He's asking you where is the process of absorption is being occurred. Perfect. Yes, in the small intestine. Which of they, a semi-liquid form of digested food that turn into feces? Semi-solid. Yeah, it is the, semi-solid is the chyme actually. Yes, this is the chyme, semi-liquid. Question number 52. Which of the following causes constipation? Decrease of water in chyme, increase of water in chyme, lack of water absorption, weakness of the function of kidney. Decrease of water in chyme. That's perfect. One of the reasons for the constipation, not, okay, all of it. This is known as chyme. It is a semi-liquid mass of the partially digested food due to the churning movement of the muscles, okay, longitudinal and circular muscles, okay. On the other hand, the bile is being secreted by the liver and stored in the gallbladder. This is the bile. Inside there is a bile. Bile actually has many things, such like the bicarbonate, such like the bile, okay, salts, okay, such like the degraded red blood cells, okay, or bilirubin, a lot of things. You got it? The big difference between the chyme and the bile. Bile is something secreted, okay, by the liver and stored in the gallbladder that aid the process of digestion, okay, such like the bile salts, the emulsifying fats, in order to increase the surface area for better digestion of the lipase in the small intestine. Okay, the chyme is a mass of semi-liquid mass of partially digested food. 53. Rhythmic wave-like muscular contractions that move food throughout the digestive tract. It is the peristalsis movement. Perfect. Question number 54. A process in which a person takes in and use food. He said and use. Okay. If he said by the cell, it should be assimilation. But it's not being mentioned, so it is digestion. Yeah, nutrition, we can say it is intake or ingestion. And there is digestion, and there is egestion, and there is the assimilation, which the cells take in and use the food, but it's not mentioned. So digestion is most close answer. 55. Which of the following foods contain a high percent of carbohydrates? The potato do contain the highest, yeah, amongst those. Yes. Question number 56. Carbohydrates that are not digested in the body, and provides fiber in the diet. The most fibers here are in the, yes, in the cellulose. Perfect. Yeah, litusi has a lot, or the leafy or dark green leafy vegetables do contain cellulose, not starch. Starch do not play in a role in the, yeah, he said not digested. Starch is digested. The cellulose is not digested. Yeah, Fatina. Okay. Glycogen is alternative form of starch. It is animal starch. It is animal starch, which is digested. But here it's clearly mentioned not digested. Cellulose in our body is not digested. Humans require what different amino acids for protein synthesis? 20 amino acid. Perfect. Yes, those are the names, the structure, but they are not in our curriculum at all. Which of the following meals contain the least calories? The correct answer is B, because it has vegetables, lentils, okay, and the soup, yeah, in comparison with the rest, it is the minimum, okay, or the least in comparison to the three or the left remaining meals. Question number 59. Which has the highest calories? The highest calories. Exactly. The correct answer is A. 1 kilogram of fat. Yeah. Because as you know here, the carbohydrates, okay, gives you 4 calories per gram. Proteins, 4 calories per gram. 1 gram of the fat gives you 9 calories, which is more than double of 2 grams, one of carbohydrate and one from protein. Question number 60. Organic compound, stress under the word organic, needed by the body in small quantities to complete metabolic activities. Carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals. He said organic. The organics, yeah, they are vitamins that needed in trace amount. And you have to know that we have fat soluble and we have water soluble, and never been tricked by the words. If you say fat soluble, exactly as if he is saying it is water insoluble, this is same. If you say water soluble, same as he is saying it is fat insoluble. The most water soluble that came in exam and we have in our curriculum is vitamin C and B complex. Why I'm writing complex? In order not to write B1, 2, 3, 12, and the rest. Okay. The fat soluble that we have in our curriculum is vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. All of them are fat soluble. The fat soluble can be easily stored in our body, so you can take them in a course and then they will be remain for a long period of time in your body. Unlike the water soluble, because they are being dissolved in water, so it's hard to be stored in the body. That's why you have to take them in on regular basis. For example, vitamin C, very important, providing your body avoiding the scurvy and even strengthen the blood vessels. It is very important, increasing the immunity, but the maximum duration in the body, you have to take it not more or not less than 2 days. So 2 to 3 days, you have to take intake of vitamin C. I'm not taking to have lemon every single day, and not only lemon that containing the vitamin C, but it is water soluble, so you have to take them on regular basis. This is the idea. Which of the following vitamins, its deficiency causes lack of vision? We just mentioned. It is vitamin A. Perfect. It is vitamin A. Yes, true. The vitamin that made by cells in the skin. 3 questions on that exact vitamin. It is vitamin D. Yes. The mechanism, it's not new, but when it's been exposed to the light, then the UV radiation will synthesize, and the process we do not have actually, not to take you further or beyond the needed on our exam for now. Question number 63. Exposure to sunlight provides us with vitamin D. Perfect. One of the following vitamins does not dissolve in fat, insoluble in fat, so it is water. It is vitamin C. He said doesn't dissolve, so it is fat insoluble, so it is water soluble, so it is vitamin C. Never been tricked by the words. Yes, and here is the thing that we did mention. Question number 65. The mineral what is needed to make hemoglobin? Iron is needed. This is the central atom that is needed for making the subunit that we have actually 4 subunits making the hemoglobin molecule. Question 66. What does the common region, the intersection here, in the next figure? Yes, the formation. Yes, perfect. Actually, the correct answer is A, the health of bones and teeth. Vitamin D, calcium, and phosphorus. Yeah. Okay, question number 66, done. 66, done, yeah. Okay, 67, let's go ahead. A mineral that is important in strength in the body. Of course, it is a calcium. Calcium is mineral. It is a mineral. Yes. Perfect. Okay. Question number 68. What is the reason of using receptors for amino acid hormones? That's a good point. The answer is yes, that's perfect. That's perfect. Cannot be diffused. Yeah, cannot be diffused through the plasma membrane. If you can even extend the explanation for that particular point, I'm gonna saying that here. This is the plasma membrane, and here is the non-steroid based, or it's known as a amino acid based. If you say non-steroid, so it is amino acid based. Okay. If you said steroid hormone, so it is non-amino acid based. So the amino acid are hydrophilic. Hydrophilic means water loving. As they are water loving, they cannot diffuse through the lipid bilayer. They cannot diffuse into the lipid bilayer. So there should be a transmembrane protein receptor that should be found on the surface of the cell in order to receive the non-steroid amino hormones or the amino acid based hormones. Unlikely, on the other hand, we have the steroid. Steroid is a sort of lipid, as we did solve before, and they are hydrophilic. Phobic. Phobic means fearing or hating. So they cannot be diffused in the water, but they easily can diffuse in the lipid bilayer. Lipid bilayer. It is phospholipid, actually, to be much more precise. But here are the lipid bilayer. Phospholipid bilayer. So they will be diffused, so the receptors are in the cytosol, inside the cell, and the continuation of the action will be occurred. Okay, thank you. Question number 69. A hormone that is used to remove the feeling of pain. It is the cortisone. Perfect. It is the cortisone. Yeah. This is the cortex that is being secreted. All of those who do not have all of them in the SAAT, I just need the cortisone. Okay. And here is the medulla that secrete all of those. And the most important one, a lot of questions are there, is the adrenaline. About maybe 4 SAAT questions are only adrenaline. Literally, okay, this word. We're going to go for them now. Question number 70. The adrenaline hormone is secreted from which gland? Adrenaline. So it is from adrenal gland. Perfect. Adrenal. Question number 71. If you are going to participate in a morning assembly and you felt scared, so you're pressured now, okay, or excited, then which hormone your body is going to secrete? Adrenaline. Yeah. All of the questions, about maybe 2 remaining, you will say the same word. Yeah, because it is under the sympathetic, okay, autonomic peripheral nervous system. Question number 72. If a person gets angry, its heartbeat increase and the hormone is secreted in the blood. What is the name of that hormone? It is adrenaline. Same. Sympathetic, autonomic peripheral nervous system. Question number 73. A hormone that is secreted during stress. A, adrenaline. B, cortisone. C, thyroxine. D, aldosterone. The correct answer is yes. Perfect. Stress is adrenaline. Question number 74. What works when a wild animal attacking you? I think this is the 5th question. Yeah, it is an epinephrine. Yes. Yes. So it is pituitary and sympathetic. Yes. You are right. And this is the sympathetic autonomic peripheral nervous system action. Actually, this is not telling what the story is, this figure, but unfortunately it came in the exam, okay, and that is maybe, okay, not precisely given. Yeah, in this figure, what is the specific relationship? It is negative feedback. Actually, there is the body, there's a stimulation or a stimuli that causing a positive feedback on which there is a hormone that has been secreted in order to maintain the homeostasis. And right after, the body will secrete another hormone when the homeostasis or the set range is being accomplished in order to stop the first one. So this is the positive loop and this is the negative loop. I know that it's maybe weird a little bit the figure, but that's what the figure is about to say. So it is a negative feedback. Same as we did mention before, the normal level, this is the normal level, okay, of the glucose in the blood, okay. If the glucose being increased, so the body will detect it, the nervous system, and message will be sent from the to the hypothalamus, then to the pituitary, then to the pancreas, specifically the islets of Langerhans, that will secrete insulin that will cause the liver to convert the glycogen into, glucose into glycogen. So it's been now stored in the liver and it will be decreasing the blood glucose level and return it back into normal. So on the other hand, if there is a decline in the glucose level or steep or decrease or decrement, so the liver in this case, okay, let's say from the beginning, the same thing, nervous system detecting this and to the hypothalamus, then to the pituitary, then to the pancreas to secrete glucagon, Okay, insulin will be stopped, so it is a negative feedback, and glucagon will be ordering the liver to do the opposite, to convert or to break down the glycogen into glucose. The glucose will be released in the blood, returning back the normal or the set range of the blood glucose level. So this is um, the extension of the explanation. Which of the following hormones work on raising the glucose level in the blood? Same thing. Yes, raising the glucagon. Same illustration. Which of the following hormones is produced by neurons? Here he is mainly, yes, it is the oxytocin. Yeah, you have to know it. Thyroxine from the thyroid, insulin from the pancreas, adrenaline is from the adrenal. Yeah, if you are not knowing the answer, you can exclude them by the previously mentioned way. Yes, perfect. This is extra information you don't need to know what actually in the SAAT. 78, a part of the male reproductive system that produces sperm. Sperms are being produced by the testes, specifically in the seminiferous tubules inside. Yes, here in the seminiferous tubules. Perfect. By the process that is known as spermatogenesis. Okay. 79, there was a delay reproduction for a couple, and when the semen was being examined, it was found that there was nothing wrong with it, and slow sperm movement in the female vagina was later discovered. Which of these glands was caused this problem due to lack of secretion? Yes. Actually, it is the seminal vesicle, one of the most important, yes, accessory glands to the reproductive organs. Yes, reproductive system in male. Seminiferous tubules, they are not glands, they are tubules inside the testicles in which the process of the spermatogenesis, the production of sperms, will be occurred. Ovary has no relation to the male, it is not even a part of the male reproductive system. Yeah, if you are looking here, here we have the prostate gland, we have the bulbourethral or the Cooper gland. Here there is attached, or they, I'm sorry, where are they? The seminal vesicle, I'm sorry, here, the seminal vesicle. Okay, and seminal vesicle is very, very important. It is very important. Why? Because it secreted a lot of the very important nutritive substances for the sperms, and some of them are being, yeah, actually 70% of the total semen. Semen is the secretions. Yeah, we have seminal fluid. Okay, it is not in the example, just know it. And we have sperm. Together, they are making the semen. Seminal fluid is being secreted by 3 glands. Okay, number 1 is, where are we? Is the bulbourethral. Okay, and this is the third, actually. This is the smallest one. Here we have the prostate, and here we have the seminal vesicle. All of those are the gland that secreted the seminal fluid. When the ejaculation is being occurred, the sperm is being added to them and making the semen that is being discharged in the female vagina. Here, the question is: C sperm spores? C, where is C? Seminiferous tubules, there are tubules inside which, yeah, here is the seminiferous tubules. Here are the production of sperms in the spermatogenesis process. They are not the spores, but inside them there will be the formation of the male sex cells, or the male gametes, or the what can you say, the germ cells. Question number 80. Actually, we have about 20 questions that will be finished. Not that, okay, much, inshallah. I'm sorry for keeping you behind, okay, but I tried to focus on the topic. It is very, very important. Okay, I'll try to keep it even open on the channel, and I'll try to even put it on another platforms for you. And I'll try to do the rest if I have time, inshallah. What is the function of the epididymis? It is storage and maturity of sperm. That is perfect. That is perfect. When they are being made in the seminiferous tubules, the sperms will be stored and continue their maturity in the epididymis. Here is the epididymis. Question number 81. The hormone that is produced by testes. The testes secrete the male sex hormone, which is the testosterone. Perfect. 82. The part in the female reproductive system where oocyte is formed. The oocyte formed in, yes, it's been found in the ovary. Yes, and here is the ovary, and here is the egg cell that will be made, okay, in a process that is known as oogenesis inside the ovary. Question number 83. Which one of the following hormones doesn't have a role in the regulation of pregnancy and giving birth for women? Progesterone, estrogen, oxytocin, it's doing this, but what has no relation to the process at all? It is the male sex hormone, which is the testosterone. Yeah, progesterone, estrogen maintain the lining of the uterus and, yeah, increasing the blood flow to the baby. And oxytocin, it is very important in the process of laboring or giving birth, but testosterone has no relation. 84. Fertilization takes place in the female reproductive system in the fertilization takes place in the first one third of the oviduct. Perfectly. And here is the place mostly the process of the fertilization should be occurred. The first one third of the fallopian tube or the oviduct. Question number 85. On the 5th day after fertilization, morula grows, making. We discussed this before in the invertebrates, if you remember, while starting by the animal kingdom characteristics. Not making an egg, surely, they are making the blastocyst. It says morula. Morula is after the process of fertilization. So, if you are extending the explanation, we did mention this last time when we discussed the animal kingdom. We have sperm that will fertilize egg in a process known as, this is the process that known as fertilization, to form zygote. Zygote is 2N and sperm is 1N, egg is 1N, and the zygote will undergo mitosis in order to give, this is one cell only, to give 2-cell stage, okay, then 4, then 8, and then 60, and so on. Then it will make the morula after about a week, okay, 5 to 7 days, will make the blastocyst or the blastula. We can say this is the blastula. If you remember, blastula will undergo the process of gastrulation that came in the exam and we did solve. That will cause then the gastrula, and so on. Question number 86. What happens to the embryo in the first 3 months or the first trimester? Yeah, the fingerprints appear. Yes, you have to keep them, and it is very important. What effect does the shortage of folic acid have on a pregnant mother? Yes, exactly. It affects the baby, surely, okay, but incomplete growth of brain and head because of the lack of the oxygen, because the folic acid do contain iron, which is very important to make the hemoglobin. And as you, okay, hemoglobin is in the RBCs that transporting the oxygen to the baby, which is very important. 88. The first line of defense in the body against the infectious disease is the skin. Yes, the first barrier, physical barrier. Which one of the following is form of non-specific immune response in the human body? Tears, yeah. Antibody specific, sure. T killer cells as well, and even the B cell. But tears is non-specific immune response. Yeah, it is a chemical barrier, such like saliva, such like the mucus secretions, such like the tears, yeah, nasal secretions. The tears do contain lysozyme. The lysozyme breaks down the bacterial cell walls, which kill the pathogen. So it is non-specific immune response. Will be secreted whatever the pathogen that is being attacked in the body is. The role of lymph nodes is, it is filtering the lymph from the foreign materials. That's perfect. True. the type of lymphocytes that produces antibodies, it is, yeah, perfect. That's true. That's true. They B cells. In order even to extend this explanation, which is very important, first of all, we have the macrophage or the bacteria or the phagocytes. Okay, the phagocytes will engulf the pathogen, okay, or the antigen, or the spike or the surface protein, the spikes, whatever the name is, and right after it will be converted into APC, antigen presenting cells. They will present those fragments of the antigen on the surface of the body of the membrane of the cell, and it will be known as antigen presenting cells. Here we have two ways. We have cell mediated, okay, cell mediated immune response or cytotoxic T cell response, and we have the humoral response, or it is antibody mediated response, okay, or it is a liquid as well. In some textbook you may find this word. So very brief, they ABC and the cell mediated will secrete interleukin 1. So the T helper cell will interact with this and will come in order to identify the fragments or the spikes of the antigen on the surface of the antigen presenting cells. And right after, it will secrete interleukin 2 that in return will make a cascade of things. Number one, will call another helper T cells to come. This is number one. Number two, will clone the T helper cells to amplify the response. Number three, will clone it into cytotoxic T cells that will inject the infected cells by buckets of poisons in order to cause the cells to be burst, to be exploded, to be destroyed, to kill the infected and lysate the infected cell. Okay, and also when all of this is being done, there will be a suppressor or the C suppressor cell that will cause this to be finished after the job is being done. That's very brief, the cell mediated. On the other hand, the humoral response or the antibody mediated, when they APC, antigen presenting cells, secretes the interleukin 1, helper T cells will come. But in the antibody mediated or the humoral response, the helper T cell will activate the inactive B cells and it will be confirmed or converted into activated B cells. This cell will be cloned into two types of cells: activated B cells, or what is known as plasma cells, that will be directly secreted the proper sort of antibody. Okay, in return, it will attack the pathogen. Okay, actually the antigens, and will clump them, will destroy them, will label them in order to make the phagocyte easily come and destroy them, will cause them to be clumped. All of those are correct, and will be cloned into the B memory cell. That's why we are vaccinated, in order to have this B cells in our body, which is a treasure that will be remain for a long period of time in order to be ready for any secondary attack. So the response will be much faster than the first response. That's in brief what I need you to know. AIDS is a result of HIV infection, or infecting the, yes, helper T cell. Yeah, as I mentioned here, everything here is starting by the helper T cell. So if he destroys this, the whole chain will be broken, and yes, the immunocompromisation, immunosuppression will be occurred. That's perfect. I'm sorry. AIDS is the result. I did this. The immunity that is produced when antibodies are passed to the fetus from the mother through the placenta didn't make anything. So it is a passive immunity. Perfect. Yeah, the immunity done. Which one of the following examples is considered passive immunity? Yeah, it is not B actually. Passive immunity. Vaccination is active. Any vaccination is active immunity. Yeah. The correct answer is A, antibodies for scorpion poison. Yeah, because it was being extracted from another organism, so it is a passive. Question number 95. The vaccine for polio is, he mean it's made up of. It mean is made up of. It is made up of weakened or dead pathogen. Here it is inactivated. Yes. Yes, perfect. Question number 96. The substance that can kill or inhibit the growth of microorganisms is, it is the antibacterial. It has another scientific name which is known as, yes, it is known as antibiotic. Yes. The substance that can kill, yes, done, sorry. All of the following facilitate the return of venous blood to the heart. I just couldn't continue in order to make them 100 question. Yeah, in mammals. Yeah, this is from another exam. No. A, it does. B does. Yeah. D is very important. C, voluntarily contracting the, I'm sorry, one single thing. Yeah, C, voluntarily contracting the veins. Can you voluntarily contract the vein? You cannot. Why? Because veins is made up of, it's lined with smooth muscles, which are involuntary. They are, sorry, involuntary. Okay, so you cannot control. Okay. Question number 98. A development stage with two cell layer sac with an opening at one end. This is the gastrula. Yes, as we just mentioned. 99. Sensory neurons send impulses down their axon when yeah, the cell body release a neurotransmitter. That's true. Yes, because as you know, there is the axon and end up by the knob or synaptic knob. We can say this is the knob. And till here it is electrical. And here is supposed to be the membrane of the, this is the dendrite. So it will be secreted here in the synaptic cleft. Synaptic cleft as neurotransmitter in order to be, yes, diffuse from a high concentration to a low concentration to the receptors found on the surface of the postsynaptic membrane. Yes, that's perfect. Okay, you got it. What will be stimulated is the knob, the synaptic knob. Okay, or it's known as the this is the axon terminals. Why? Because the axon terminal, when the electrical signal or the electrical impulse come to it, it will be stimulating the production of, okay, neurotransmitter inside vesicles. Those are the neurotransmitter inside the vesicles, migrating to the membrane of the, this is known as pre-synaptic membrane. This is post. So they will be migrating, they will be bursting, and the neurotransmitter will be diffused from a region of their high concentration at the axon terminal down to the concentration gradient to the postsynaptic membrane or the receptors that are found on the surface of the dendrites of the second neuron. This is neuron A, this is neuron B. So they will be received by those receptors, and then the sodium potassium pump will be opened, and now the action potential will be occurred on the surface of the adjacent neuron. So it will be again electrical. So before the synapse is electrical, on the synapse it's chemical, after it is electrical. So the nervous system is electrochemical signal. You got it now, dear? My dear? Okay, I hope so. Last question. Which of the following summarizes an advantage of sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction? Okay, thank you. Genetic variation in a population decreased? No. Yes, the variation, alleles can be shuffled into new combination because of the process of crossover. Yes. Yeah, it's D. Perfect.